Sylvis, welcome to the show. How does it feel to be Amy today?
Amazing. I am blessed and grateful and really excited to be able to talk to you and add value to your audience today. Thank you.
Awesome. Who is Amy Sylvis?
Sure. So I'm out here, as I mentioned, in Los Angeles, California. I'm 42 years old, live with my amazing husband, Joel, and our large extended family out here. And yeah, love to travel internationally, really enjoy college football, and enjoy giving back to the charities and causes that we strongly believe in. And I syndicate real estate.
I see that you have marketing there. You're marketing in the USC Marshall School of Business as well, too. Some things that stand out along the way. How did you, you go from marketing into real estate. Like, tell us a little bit about that swing.
Sure. I'll give you a brief overview and we can go as deep as you'd like. But when I was born, I wasn't sure I'd always be able to trade my time for money. Obviously, this wasn't the thought of a 4-year-old. But as I grew older, was fortunate enough to go to high school, to college, I lived with cystic fibrosis. So being in and out of the hospital was really a big mainstay of my life. And so I was really looking for a way to be self-sufficient as an adult. Working was tough. I really enjoyed it, but I was on this never-ending quest to figure out how I might be able to support myself, not be a burden on my family, and thankfully came across this concept of passive income. So that really helped me make the switch from corporate that I loved. I loved working in biotech. It was an incredible industry, but I wanted to make sure that I could initially help myself and then others generate passive income to live life more on my terms.
Tell us a little bit about these benchmarks along the way. When you got from an idea to being Amy, sitting at home comfortably and with this passive income, you know?
Yes. Yes. So it was ironically right after I got my MBA, which I got because I thought at the time compiling cash and being able to draw on it when I was too sick to work would be the answer. So when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it really opened up my middle-class mind to something different. I grew up, my father still does physical labor in construction. This idea of hard work, grinding it out, nothing wrong with that if you're able-bodied and able to, but the mindset shift helped me tremendously of, again, as you said, just this possibility that there is something else. I could earn money while I was in the hospital, while I was too sick to work. So I hired a coach, I hired mentors. I really, I deployed some of my savings into investing as a limited partner to learn the business. It took me a good long 10 years from the time that I realized that this was a possibility until I actually got into the industry, mostly because of health challenges. But that's really been, those are the major action steps I took. Throw in a little bit of forced medical retirement at the age of 35, and a miracle medication that came to the market for cystic fibrosis when I was 38, about 4 years ago. And that's really the recipe of how I arrived where I am today.
What was the very first property that you acquired?
Yes, so as a limited partner or as an active partner?
Let's do both. Let's do limited first.
Okay, yeah, the limited was investing alongside a really great experienced team that I was interested in getting to know more and eventually partnering with, and that was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yes.
Very cool. So in as a limited partner, were you accredited on that first one, or
I was not?
You were not? You was not? You were not? You were not?
I were not. I was not.
You were not. So whatever way you weren't, and you come in and not accredited and you make that first deal. What was the cycle of that deal?
Yeah, it was around 4 years. Chattanooga back in the early 2010s wasn't really on a whole lot of people's radars. So we fortunately got in early as the market continued to increase. With VW was setting up their first manufacturing plant there. And yeah, had incredible experience, learned so much. Growing the money was spectacular, but being able to ask questions, understand, and see what good looked like from another real estate syndicator was an incredibly helpful experience. Yeah, the GP got 30% of all cash flow and of all equity upon distribution, and then the LPs got a pro rata share of the 70%.
And that on the equity as well, on the exit?
Yes, on the exit.
30? Mm-hmm. Boy, that makes it simple, doesn't it?
It was nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you remember what your return on investment was for that overall, all said and done?
Yeah, so it was a two equity multiple at just 4 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, great first deal, huh? If you had to grab the most important factor of the economy, what is that one point or that one thing that you look at that you need growth in?
Household formation.
Household formation. What does that mean?
So a lot of people think about population growth, but the reality is populations or individual people don't necessarily rent apartments, households do. So if you have a whole bunch of people migrating to an area, but they decide to double up, triple up in an apartment unit, that's still just one unit that you're renting out. So as people's wealth grows, as people age, we're talking about demographics out of their teens, go off, become adults. Those are households that are formed. So understanding that really translates quite nicely to demand for apartment units.
Very interesting. That's cool. That was a fun question. I see you in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different markets. How many brokers do you work with?
Quite a number, quite a number. This is a relationship business, right? So I think the biggest aha for many people when they learn about commercial real estate or multifamily is, unlike single family, where often, cash is king, or the price, whoever pays the highest price is awarded the deal. That's not necessarily the case in the multifamily, industrial, or other commercial real estate space. So having those relationships, being easy to work with, all of that is very powerful. So I cherish those relationships quite a bit and work to make them great constantly.
So through that line of questioning, you're able to gauge the quality of that broker. Is that kind of how that goes for you?
Yeah, I generally assume that brokers are, very competent and are good at what they do. What I'm really zeroing in on is what type of deal flow do they have? So are they typically people that list, 5 plexes up to 50 plexes, and that's really their niche? And if I'm a 100 plus unit buyer, maybe that's not the person for me. Or, maybe there's there are some markets in the US where there are kind of good old boys clubs where brokers and buyers just only work with each other. It's a very tight knit group where it's hard to break in. You can sense that often through having a conversation as well, how open a broker is to dealing with a new client. So yeah, lots of different things to assess there in terms of what might suit your goals.
Awesome. And you threw out the hypothetical of 100 plus. Are you qualifying yourself as a 100 plus buyer?
Yeah, our last purchase was well over 100 units back in 2023. So yes, we find that economies of scale are very much in our favor at the 100 or 150 plus unit mark. So we're able to, for anyone that doesn't understand economies of scale or isn't familiar with that term, we really want to be able to hire a full-time leasing agent, hire a full-time repairs and maintenance person on site. You have to have a certain amount of revenue, a certain number of units to spread that expense across to be able to sustain and pay for that type of service. That can make your job as an asset manager and then your property management job much easier because you have those resources. And then of course, by proxy, reduce risk for investors as well.